Hello everybody, welcome to my channel at Mosaic Maria. My name is Maria. And happy Monday after Thanksgiving. I'm going to lighten this up because I'm in the dark. It suddenly got dark. Yeah, it's like dark. Dark. The time change. And we've had a rainy day of just 30s and rain. So today was leftover turkey day. And if there's any leftovers left over, still hanging around, get rid of them. From Thursday, because chances are some people started their sides and pies and things on Wednesday, so it's really 6 days. That's too long to have stuff hanging around in your fridge. So I generally follow a rule of, this lighting is ridiculous. I generally follow a rule of 48 hours for, that's really light, you guys. Sorry with the light, I'm trying to get it right. I generally follow a rule of 48 to 72 hours with poultry once I've cooked it. And the same thing with if I make chicken stock or turkey stock or broth. 48 hours is kind of my refrigeration rule. Anything I've already cooked that's left over, if I know I'm not going to eat it within the next 2 days, I freeze it. Because with apartment refrigeration, and I know a lot of people have houses and whatever, you could experience the same thing in a house, depending on how much people open your refrigerator and how your electricity is. But in my situation, there's always apartments being gutted and people moving out and people moving in and appliances, new appliances being brought in, the electric being turned off, or them trying to get an appliance up to temperature. And it's a drain on the appliances that we have. So all last week, Thanksgiving week, the maintenance was working on an apartment below me. They were painting, putting in fixtures. Electricity was on and off. They were drilling, they were sawing, they were gutting everything and just doing a lot of work. And so we had paint fumes, we had bleach that was just totally wrecked my head and sinuses. It was just crazy fumes for about 4 days. And Wednesday was the worst of it. And that was my sides and pies day. And my electricity kept going off in different places and then back on. So I'd open my refrigerator, everything would be wet. It's like, oh, no! And then it would freeze up again. It's like, oh. I'd be working on my oven and it would just go off. I was like, you have on sides and pie day? No. One day to get your sides and everything done, right? And I was just praying they wouldn't be working on Thanksgiving so I could get the bird roasted. But generally, apartment living, apartment refrigerators, you're going to run through them a lot because you get energy zapped or energy drained from just the electricity. So many people running their electricity. And it's like that with everything. Your TVs will go out quicker, computers, dryers, mixers. So I just think that happens in apartment living. So my rule has been for all the time that I've lived in apartments, 48 hours. So I do a lot of freezing. So my freezer is usually full, but my refrigerator is kind of gimpy. I keep my vegetables in that. So today I decided to get rid of every leftover that I had from Thanksgiving and turn it into turkey chili. So I had some cut up yams that didn't make it into getting roasted. They were already cooked. Well, they were roasted, but they didn't have butter or oil on them. They were just dry roasted. I wasn't sure if I was going to make a sweet potato pie or if I was going to mash it down and make a sweet potato casserole. So I made a little extra and set it to the side. And I made enough potatoes for, I know that I cooked for 5 people in my neighborhood, and one of the people that I cook for likes more like a smashed potato and has gotten used to kind of like a garlic smashed potato, and I didn't know if she was going to want that because she's been having her teeth done, and sometimes spices make her mouth sensitive. So I put that aside. So I had a little bit of yams, a little bit of butternut squash, and a little bit of mashed potato left. And it was cooked up, but with no butter, no oil, nothing on it, no cream. So it would be fine. I took my sweet potato, butternut squash, mashed potato, and added it to my white and dark meat, what I call my not so pleasant to plate meat, that you're not carving too well, you're just pulling it apart at that point. It doesn't look pleasant, plate pleasant to be on the plate. So it becomes tuna salad, or it becomes actually thrown in a sauce that I make. I did that on Sunday. I made a sauce on Sunday and threw some of my turkey in it, which just tastes delicious. It tastes a little bit like pork or chicken. So it's really quite good. And so is turkey parmesan, in case you're wondering. In case you want to try that, it's good. Turkey lasagna, it's all good. So there's a million things you could do. I just decided to make turkey chili. I used 2 cans of diced tomatoes, 15 ounces, 1 can of black beans, 15 ounces, 1 can of Canelli white beans, 15 ounces, and I rinsed them really good. I used no salt diced tomatoes. I used 2 quarts of homemade turkey stock, which I made Thursday after I roasted my bird. And 1 can of sweet whole kernel corn, 1 tablespoon of chili powder. I had a little appetizer plate, and on that appetizer plate were some hot peppers, and those went in there. I had some pepperchini kind of peppers and some banana peppers on there. So I just threw them in and added some crushed hot pepper with my chili powder, paprika, ground cumin, a little bit of cinnamon, and because I put the sweet potato and the yams in there, I put some pumpkin spice in, and it was really good. I didn't salt it till the very end. I just brought it to a boil and then let it simmer, and just kept adding water as needed and mashing down my potatoes and some of the beans, and it really thickened it up nice. It made a really beautiful turkey, leftover chicken, kind of leftover turkey chili. Other times I've taken all the components of my dinner, like the bread stuffing, the mashed potatoes, the sweet potatoes, and maybe the green bean casserole or Brussels sprouts or whatever, and just made a shepherd pie, which I call a gobble grateful pie. Just layer your meat, in a buttered dish, pie pan, or a rectangle sheet, rectangle 9x13 or anything you have. Layer your dark and white meat. You can even toss your gravy in there if you have any left over. Your vegetables, broccoli, green beans, asparagus, whatever it is, toss it in there. Squash, all that. And then if you have sweet potato or potato left over, mashed, just put it on the top and stick it in the oven at 350. And I usually put a little paprika on the top, and I even add my cranberry sauce. Some years I will layer in my bread stuffing, and so my turkey stuffing is in there, and it's just delicious. It's just like one bite of Thanksgiving in your mouth in a pie. It's just yummo, really good. But you can make slider sandwiches with your turkey, your cranberry, I never met a cranberry I didn't like. Quite frankly, my most favorite part of holiday dinners is cranberry sauce. And I don't mind, every now and again, I will buy myself a can of jellied cranberry because it's good. It's just good. And I get a craving for it. So I did that today. And today was kind of like, is it going to poison me or not? Let me test it. Kind of day. All day when I was cooking. I had 3 slices of bacon left over from my broccoli salad I made. I had made a broccoli salad that has mayonnaise, vinegar, bacon, raisins, sugar. It's really good. Red onion in it. So I had 3 slices of bacon left. And I had taken it out on Tuesday from the freezer. I was like, it's probably right on the edge about now. It was right on the edge. So as I was cooking it, I was like tasting it, going, am I eating a strip of salmonella or listeria or what am I eating? I mean, that's kind of how it was today, just taking little tastes of everything. So I didn't really eat. I just took a taste as I was cooking. Thought, is the turkey still okay? Are the sweet potatoes still okay? It was all fine. It's delicious. So that's what I did with my leftovers. Okay, so I want to talk about something that is coming up on TV, in the media. And it's pop culture. It's a very sad case that was very much decided upon by the Roman Colosseum of social media, and that was the and still we don't know what clearly happened. And it was the case of the state prosecuting Casey Marie Anthony for the murder of her daughter, Kaylee. Now, Kaylee was a 2.5, I think she was 3. She was born in 2008, 2.5 years old. I thought she was 3, but I'll have to look at that again. She went missing in 2011. No, 2008, I'm sorry. And she was born in 2005, so she went missing in 2011. Casey was a young mother who lived with her parents, and her daughter lived with her maternal grandparents. So her parents' names are Cindy Anthony and George Anthony. And they were very much in the news from June to, it seemed like forever. From June 2008, it seemed like forever. As the case went, mom and dad living in the home with their daughter, with their granddaughter. The daughter Casey occasionally went to be with her boyfriend if she was dating, and lived with friends or her boyfriend for a while and would take Kaylee with her. But really, she lived with her parents, and her daughter lived with her grandparents, her parents, the grandparents. She also had a brother. So, little grandbaby girl goes missing for 31 days. For 31 days, grandmother and grandfather don't see their granddaughter. Now, I wasn't on the jury, but that's the first thing in the case that got my attention. Was something's wrong here, because Casey lives with Cindy and George, her parents, with her daughter, and they haven't seen their granddaughter in 31 days. And they don't pick up the phone. But finally, Cindy picks up the phone, makes a 911 call, says my granddaughter's been missing, and my daughter has finally admitted to me she hasn't seen her daughter in 31 days. She doesn't know where she is. She's been missing. And her car smells like something died in it. Okay. So the police pick her up, question her. Casey goes through a litany of lies. Tons of lies. Ridiculous lies. She dropped her off on June 8th with Zanny the nanny. And all of her friends and everybody knows they drop Xanax and they call Xanax Zanny. Her mother takes Xanax and Cindy jokes with her daughter and can take a Zanny. They check out and take a little Xanax when they're getting a little nervous or anxious, right? Okay, so this is going on in 2008. Casey is taking the police on a wild goose chase, saying, no, see, I was getting this new job I really wanted. It was my dream job. And I had just started working at Universal and Disney and all this. And she goes so far as to bring the police into this tour of her workplace. And they're just like, we know you don't work here, Casey. You're lying. Every lie she tells is so easy to poke through and go, oh, let me blow your house down. There's a truth bomb. Oh, look, it blew up in your face. It just didn't, nothing's holding water, nothing. I'm not on the jury, but I keep thinking, if somebody is really guilty, they're going to come up with a better lie than this woman is coming up with. She's just reactive lying. She's grief, shock. I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe they're still asking me questions. I don't know what to say. She's just coming up with, she's throwing spaghetti at the wall. Because they are ridiculous lies. And somebody that murders, somebody that wants to get away with it, is going to come up with a better lie. Cindy, meanwhile, her mother, is just furious all the time and playing friendly with Casey and oh darling, oh dear, and then you monster, it's just all over the place. Meanwhile, George, the father, has this strange relationship with Casey where there's kind of like this teaming up they're doing to not make Cindy upset. Cindy has this way in interviews of emasculating her husband and really being the forthright, in charge person who's going to handle the media and handle everything, while George is melting down in the media and raging at the media. And in the middle of the trial, in the middle of everything, what I keep noticing is George keeps reacting the same way that Casey is reacting, just reacting. Pure emotion. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but here I am. While Cindy is trying to keep everything calm and cool, let's just find out. Where's Kaylee? The t-shirts are out, the posters, everyone's looking. Poor little Kaylee is found in a laundry bag with her blanket. Her skeletal remains are found not far from the Anthony's home in a shallow wooded area grave where it could be said that somebody that did kill her would go back to retrieve her or make sure she's still there or could go visit. Coroner describes not only duct tape on her mouth, but duct tape around her skull, which would have indicated that whoever placed her there or killed her or just buried her because she may have died accidentally. Wanted to keep her head intact for identification purposes, her teeth, and I don't know what else. I really don't. But the prosecution comes up with Casey has been drugging Kaylee with chloroform and duct taping her mouth and putting chloroform over her mouth and then duct taping her mouth to make her go to sleep. That's not what's been happening. The medical examiner can't find anything at all, and no clear meaning of death for Kaylee. There's no unknown meaning. No, there's no cause of death. Just the body found. So finally, Casey stops lying and gets a lawyer that she can really trust. His name is Jose Behar, I believe. I'm going to say it wrong, so I'm going to correct myself when Bahar? Jose. He gets her to start talking to therapists about that day, the last day she saw Kaylee. And she's gone over this with police, interrogation, her father, her mother, her brother. They're all playing good cop, bad cop with her mother, her father. It's all very, it screams dysfunctional family, and they all know their role in the family, and it's to keep secrets, and it's to keep everything looking like it's okay on the outside when it's really not. What I noticed was, like I said, this weird teaming up and relationship that Casey and George had, the father-daughter, where there seemed to be an unspoken understanding between them. They had to keep their mom calm, and that no matter what it was that was wrong, sorry about that, no matter what, I don't want to look like a ghost, no matter what it was that was wrong, Daddy was going to fix it, and don't worry about Mom. I'll take care of Mom. Don't worry about Mom. And just, it's okay. You can talk to me, Casey. You know, I'm your dad. You can talk to me. George is a former police officer. Now, what Casey says to everyone finally is, and Jose gives this because she never takes the stand, is that the last time she saw Kaylee was June 8th. Her mom, Cindy, who is a nurse, goes to work early in the morning. And before she leaves, she always stops into the bedroom to say, I'm leaving now. So she did that. And usually Casey gets up with Kaylee because Kaylee will be up when her grandma is getting ready to go to work. But that day, Kaylee went back to bed with her mother. Her mom, Casey, brought her into the bedroom to lay down in bed and sleep a little longer. Casey knew her dad was already up, out in the living room watching TV, having his breakfast, his cereal, whatever. But she wanted Kaylee to come lay down with her, so she fell asleep with Kaylee in her arms. And what she woke up to is her dad holding Kaylee, soaking wet, fully clothed. And she looked lifeless, but in Casey's mind, she believed that her daughter was still alive right up until when they found Kaylee's remains. She still believed her daughter was alive. She didn't know what happened. What she remembered is that, and she didn't remember it until they found, she was protecting her father, she claims, the man she always protected. It was natural for her to do that and to keep everything calm and cool for her mom and to protect her dad. What she is claiming is that George, her dad, staged a drowning, woke Casey up with Kaylee in his arms, screaming at her, "Look what you've done! Look what you've done. It's all your fault. Oh my God, what you've done. This is your fault. Raging at her to get out. Get in your car, get out before I kill you. Get out, get out. Meanwhile, Casey was thinking, is Kaylee dead? Is Kaylee alive? Why aren't you calling 911? Why aren't you resuscitating her? You're not doing anything. But he was just raging at her to just get out. Go. Don't come back. And that's exactly what she did. And she ran in grief and shock, believing that Kaylee was somewhere alive, but she didn't know where. She didn't know what happened. She didn't tell. So what Casey is saying now, 11 years later, is that she is guilty of one thing and one thing only. Well, two, but one thing only. Lying to the police and her first set of lawyers. Lying to them. But her goal in life was to always have her baby girl, always keep her, and always protect her. And the one thing she wanted to do, she couldn't do. And what she realized is Kaylee was probably being touched inappropriately by her dad, and he was starting to groom her. By the behavior that Kaylee was doing, and by the way George was acting, Casey believed very much that her dad was starting to hurt Kaylee. The way he hurt her, but she really couldn't access all of that. What she claims now is that George began molesting her at 8 years old and fully raping her violently, continuously, until she started menstruating and could get pregnant. And then it ended. And during that time, her brother also molested her, but she wasn't as afraid of her brother. It was done in a way almost like an imitation way, like it was thought it was okay. And all of this was supposed to be kept from Cindy. So the story they came up with in the end, the defense was that there had been this ongoing issue in the Anthony home about the pool and the pool ladder. And whoever used the pool last put the ladder away, because they were aware that Kaylee got out, and any child could get out and climb up the ladder and end up in the pool. Put the pool ladder away. But George didn't want Cindy to know that Kaylee ended up in the pool, because Cindy was the last person to swim, so she left the pool ladder out. During the trial, George is either raging at the media, melting down, answering questions very inappropriately. Cindy is jumping in and taking charge. And again, I'm going to say, totally emasculating her husband in public, humiliating him, and just the way she looked at him, and he watched his words when they spoke, but then they held hands. She was enraged, all the time enraged, and a mess. And to me, he looked guilty all the time. He was the quiet, I got this under control. And then one day, we all heard that George had tried to kill himself. George wrote the longest suicide letter after Kaylee was found dead, after her remains were found. He wrote a long suicide letter. He couldn't live without Kaylee, and he couldn't live without Casey. And it was all his fault. He didn't know what happened, but it was all his fault. And he had a genuine suicide attempt with an overdose. Why? Why? So what I want to say is I have always believed Casey Anthony, and I took a lot of flack for that from other mothers, grandmothers, people in social work, survivors. But I went by my gut instinct and what I know in family systems approach, family dynamics, group behavior, and I went by my gut instinct. And I know in my heart that the Anthony family is full of secrets. They all have their role. They're all protecting each other and blaming each other at the same time. And it never made sense. The lies that Casey told. And one of the things that the public deemed Casey world's most awful mom, and they said the jury got it wrong because she was facing the death penalty, and the jury found her innocent. They found her guilty of lying to police and officials. But she was found guilty for lying. She was not found, there was not one shred of evidence that she killed her daughter. Everything the prosecution came up with was just social media stuff, like searches on the internet that turned out to be her mother's searches. And we may never know. But what I do know is that I do believe Casey is telling the truth. I believe something terrible happened to Kaylee when somebody was trying to have their way with her. And it went wrong. And I believe that somebody did stage a drowning, blame it on the pool ladder, and call it tragic. But I just can't understand why they don't have more DNA they could have gotten or evidence. I thought they should have gotten DNA from George, from her brother Lee, from, was it Lee? I'm sorry, I'm probably saying his name wrong. Everyone in the household. There was no Zanny the nanny. Kaylee was with Casey with her boyfriend. They did stay at his apartment for a while. They did go to friends' houses, but they always came back to their base, their home, with the maternal grandparents. So why didn't George pick up the phone? Why wasn't he at day 15 going, where's Kaylee? Where's my little grandbaby girl that's always running around here? Why? Why was he this depressed man sitting at home with Cindy going to work? Why? And why the suicide attempt? So I do believe there was abuse, there was dysfunction in the Anthony home, and I do believe Casey Anthony. I believe we'll never know. And there are people that are saying, well, George can sue Casey now because she's come out with this docuseries called Where the Truth Lies. Now, I find the title very interesting because it is catchy and weird, Where the Truth Lies. And it's kind of like a run on words. Like, is the truth I'm telling, my truth, Casey Anthony, is the truth I'm telling you right now lying to you? And Casey is very, very strong in this interview where she says there was an active campaign in the public to make me out to be something I was not. My social media was used against me. Every picture that I ever had at a dance, in a club, with a drink, was used against me. And she became a private investigator for law firms that does exactly the opposite, but takes the timeline of your social media, your texting, your pictures, and puts it in the correct context. Like, a prosecutor will hire somebody to look at your social media and get one scenario from it, and a defense team will hire a digital forensics person to take your social media and get a whole other scenario and try to prove what they're proving. And what Casey Anthony has been doing is looking at both and putting it in the correct context when people end up in jail, looking for law firms. And she's been dating policemen and lawyers and being really quiet because she knows she's hated in the public, the world's worst mom who should have gotten the death penalty. I always thought she was really stuck with, she really didn't know. And she was just making up crazy lies. And she was protecting somebody that she loved very much. So with therapy ongoing from jail to release, she is claiming that her father violently SA'd her, and that there was a lot of domestic violence in the home, and that her brother molested her when they were young too. In more of an imitation way, what he thought was okay, and that nobody was asking her the right questions because she wasn't at a place psychologically where she was able to cut ties from her father or her mother. And have that break, really. She was still thinking they were going to be a family. And when she realized she could no longer protect her father, it was over with. So it's a very interesting. Peacock is streaming it tomorrow night, November 29th, and it will be a 3-part series. So I've never thought Casey Anthony was the world's worst mom. And I hope someday to find out what happened to Kaylee, and to also find out what happened to Jean Renee Ramsey. Because the thought of 2 little girls just, being dead, and with all the DNA evidence and everything they have now in forensics, I just wish that John Ramsey can get some answers with new DNA. And I hope that they can open up cases like Casey Anthony, Kaylee, and see if there's anything on the duct tape or anything on the laundry blanket, anything of Kaylee. So, I'm definitely going to stream it. I've seen most of the trailers and all, and I believe her. So, I'd like your opinion, and I don't mind if you think, whatever, it's not going to bother me. That's my opinion. I've always believed Casey. I think you have to go by your gut, and if you've ever been around families that are dysfunctional and keeping secrets, you recognize it. And so that's my take on where the truth lies. Peacock. Casey Anthony tells her truth. 11 years later. Okay, so turkey leftovers and Casey Anthony is back. All right, that's all I got. I hope you have a nice evening. Thanks for watching. Hit the like if you liked it. Hit the dislike if you didn't like it, and it will help pick me up on the algorithm. So any kind of interaction you want to have with this video is fine with me because it's going to get that algorithm to see me. No, I'm just, I don't mind. And share and hit the notification bell. I don't do many videos anymore, but when something's on TV that is in pop culture or mental health or a review of a book or my thoughts on something going on or food or crochet or knitting. Speaking of knitting, if I don't get knitting, there's not going to be any Christmas gifts for anybody that I planned on this year. By this time last year, I had like 5 crocheted angels made, 3 Afghans. This year, I am about ready to rip out an Afghan for the 243rd time that I'm knitting because my stitch count just is wrong on one row and it's driving me nuts. I can't fix it. I can't move on from that one row and I keep having to rip back. So I'm about to go do that now that my kitchen is clean and my leftovers are taken care of. My garbage is out. It's time to hydrate and knit. And thanks for tuning in, you guys. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Moving forward, I hope you have a nice Hanukkah and Christmas and Yule and winter solstice and everything you celebrate. And don't let the holidays get you. You enjoy the holidays, right? Make them your own. And talk to you later. Thanks.